Okay, on this video, we're going to work on comparing and ordering fractions. So you know how to compare when we're looking at two fractions. This is a step up where you are going to work on ordering. In order to order, you need to be able to compare. So on the bottom of this slide right now, you are seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. Some of them you're going to notice are mixed numbers, some are improper fractions, and some are just plain fractions. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to draw a line up here, and we're going to write a G on this end. This is for greatest, and a least on this end. Okay, now we're going to order these 5 values from greatest to least, or you could say from smallest to biggest. So what I would recommend that you do, don't overload your brain and try and compare all of them at the same exact time. That's going to kind of not work. I would first look to identify and see if you can see any of these fraction values that are either really teeny tiny small or really big. And what we can do is kind of narrow down our list as we go. Okay, so take a second to do that. Right away, something jumps out at me. I see right here this fraction, 3/100ths. I know that is very, 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 very small. Sometimes we see that number 100 and we think, ooh, that's a big number. But having 3/100ths means having 3 out of 100. Think about sharing a pizza with 100 people, how tiny, teeny those little tiny slices would be. They'd be really small, especially if you're only getting 3 of them. So right away, what I know is that this is my least value. Oops. See if it will let me drag it. Maybe. We'll see. Nope, that didn't work. So what I'm going to do is just end up rewriting these, and that is totally fine. So I'm going to write 3/100ths right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross that off of our list. Now what we're kind of doing is paring down our list. Now I only have 4 values to look at. Okay? Okay, now what I notice what I have left is I have 2/10ths, which is a fraction. I have 23/26, which is a fraction. And then it looks like I have a mixed number in 2 1/3 and an improper fraction of 56/7. So I'm going to look at comparing my fractions first, because I know that these two, 56/7 and 2 1/3, are both larger than one whole. So I'm going to look at my two fraction pieces and compare them. Okay, so I see right here that we have 23/26. That's actually really not far away from one whole. And using my comparing skills from our other video lesson, I know that 2/10ths is actually pretty close to 0. Half of, I'm thinking about what I know about that numerator and denominator, half of 10 is 5, and 2 is less than 5. So that means this one is pretty close to 0. So I know that one is my next one. So I'm going to rewrite that up here. Write 2 and 2/10ths. Okay, and I'm going to cross that one off my list. Now I know right away, because we have an improper fraction and a mixed number, that this fraction value has to come next on our list. 23/26. Okay, so we've already done quite a lot of this work. Now we just have these two left to compare here, okay? And one thing that's kind of tricky about this is whenever you have improper fractions, you're probably not going to have and mixed numbers, you're probably not going to have the same denominator. So what it would be a good idea, these are tough to compare right now. We have sevenths and we have thirds. So that's tricky. I think what we should do is turn this into regroup that into a mixed number, and then see what we get. From there, we might be able to compare the whole numbers. So over here, I'm going to do that work. I'm going to divide. Remember, what we're trying to figure out is how many 8/8ths we can make. We're going to divide our numerator by our denominator. We're going to try and figure out how many groups of 8/8ths or how many 1 wholes we can make. So whatever way you like to do division will work. I'm just going to use the standard algorithm. And this is one of your fact fluency facts, because I know that I can make 8 groups of 7, and that 7 times 8 is 56. I won't have any leftovers. So this is actually not a mixed number. This is equivalent to a whole number, and that whole number is 8. And 8 is much larger than 2 1/3. So I know that this 2 1/3 is going to go here, and my 56/7 is going to be the greatest value. So I'm going to write 2 1/3 here, and then my greatest value, don't write what you have turned it into. Write the original value. That is what you're comparing. So I'm going to write 56/7 is my greatest value. And that is it. Look at all that work we did, but we really worked hard to make this a little bit easier for our brain.